Congress party as Congress president and as the Prime Minister. Supposing he loses both the states or one of the two states, then I'm sure it is bound to have impact on his hold on the Congress party. But I don't see any change in the leadership at the center, even if he loses the elections. But his critics in the Congress party will have a point to score over him in case he loses Andhra and Karnataka or Andhra Pradesh in particular.
What if it loses in Andhra?
Well, this happens to be P.V. Narasimha Rao's home state. Now, winning Andhra is very important for him. If you lose the home state, it makes a difference. He loses prestige within the Congress party. And the point he gave of Telugu Bidda in the beginning of the campaign he made, I think people will quote that against him. Losing the home state in this situation when his chunk of the Congress parliamentary strength is drawn from Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka will have a little unpleasant effect. And the dissidents in the Congress party at the center, those who have never been reconciled to his leadership, although they were on low key during certainly last 1 year, they will have a little opportunity to make some noise. But whether that noise can pull him down from the prime ministership, no, I don't think so. They won't be able to pull him down from the prime ministership.
So what you're saying is that the outcome of the elections would actually kind of reflect upon the position of the prime minister.
Certainly, to reflect on have an impact on his position, on his hold of the Congress party. But it's the verdict in the South will not have any impact to the extent that he may have to quit the prime ministership. No, not at all. I don't think so.
And why did the Congress advisors advise Mr. Rao not to overplay, his being from Andhra Pradesh and not to kind of personalize the campaign?
I don't know what advice was given or what advice was accepted. It's very difficult to say. That is bound to be behind the scenes, what happens in consultation rooms or in the corridors of power. But in the beginning it did start as a campaign for P.V. Narasimha Rao, and later on they tried to make it a Congress campaign, a party's campaign. But in the state elections there are always many issues that are often thrown up. The performance of the local governments will be a major issue, or has been a major issue. The quality of the candidates set up by the party is always an issue. And there will always be local failures of the administrations, which will always be an issue. So I don't think even if Prime Minister or Congress President wants this election to be personalized or non-personalized, the other issues disappear. No, they don't disappear from state elections. They will always be there. But the very fact this is the first time there's a Prime Minister from the South does make it one of the important points for the voter to consider.
Right. Was it because as the campaign progressed, the Congress managers realized that there was, much less response to the Congress party, and if Mr. Rao overplayed the bit about about the southern chief minister or the first chief minister from the Andhra Pradesh and so on, and in case the outcome was unfavorable to the Congress party, he would be in a very unpleasant position.
I don't know what impelled them really to give that advice to the Congress president, to play down his own focus on in the election campaign, but he himself said this is not a referendum on him. Now that was indicative of the new strategy with the Congress party, or he decided to opt for much later in the campaign.
What impact would it have, the outcome of the polls, that is, on the economic liberalization?
I don't think it will have any impact on the economic liberalization. I don't think any prime minister, I don't envisage any change in the prime minister of the country, and Mr. Narasimha Rao is committed to economic liberalization. And impact of economic liberalization on the polls on economic liberalization, even if we take into account the next general election, which is due in '96, I don't think Government of India can go back on the reforms or scale down, whether because of these elections, Karnataka and Andhra, or because of the Lok Sabha elections which are due in 96. I don't think so.
Suddenly, the rivals to the Congress party have been making popular, some say populist promises. Don't you foresee any growth of competitive populism which may imperil liberalization?
I have a feeling all the political parties in India, Congress, Telugu Desam, Janata, communist parties, everybody is populist in India. They want to satisfy the people's demand with measures they will not be able to sustain later on while in the government. The easiest thing is to make a promise to the people. The easiest thing is to forget about it later on. Now all parties are guilty of populism, so I don't know what to choose on that basis. But personally, I believe they will serve the people much better if they make fewer promises, and they serve them better and fulfill these rather than make too many promises and don't fulfill any.
But Mr. Dua, that's only a hope. Now, there is all you see. The Telugu Desam party has been promising rice for 2 rupees a kg, and like the Congress party has been trying to condition the people, to a scenario wherein there won't be any subsidies or there would be reduced subsidies. So don't you see that the Congress would come out with equal amount of populism in its campaign or in its race for power?
I have a feeling all parties are guilty of populism. I don't know how Mr. Rama Rao, N.T. Rama Rao will be able to find money for subsidizing the rice. Now, if he doesn't find the money, if he doesn't have the money, he'll blame the center for it. Where will the center will come? The question of subsidy will come. But I have a feeling the Indian federal system or whatever is left of it is fairly resilient to find a way out of that. Now, Congress also will find it a little difficult to resist populism, even if it is populism has been forced by a so-called opposition government in one state. So this competitive populism means, well, you go on satisfying the people at the cost of the people themselves. Somebody has to pay for the cheap rice. Who is to pay that? The government is not going to pay from its own kitty. N.T. Rama Rao is not going to pay from his kitty. Ultimately, the people have to pay for the subsidy also. Now, how long it will take to educate the people? The subsidy is costly for them. I don't know. I'm sure it's going to take a long time.
Well, in the past, in West Bengal and in Andhra Pradesh itself, there have been similar demands and there have been similar attempts by the state government and the central government, to deny to each other the credit for the populist promises or the realization of the populist promises. So, do you think that there will be any implications for the center-state relations in case Karnataka and Andhra go to the opposition?
I won't say any serious problems on that account, because in the past there have been governments of one party at the center, another party in the state, and there have been serious issues. They were between West Bengal government and New Delhi. They were between Andhra and Delhi. They were Karnataka and Delhi. But ultimately, I think they were able to find solutions for these problems. So I don't see any worsening of center-state relations because of these populist demands. No, I don't think so. Blaming one or the other, I think, is a pastime. Often I find, irrespective of the government, character of the government in the states, the reflexes of the state governments towards Delhi are virtually the same, whether it's a Congress government, whether it is Telugu Desam government, whether it's a Janata government, whether it's a CPM government. The demands are similar. Demands made by local politicians, state politicians of the center are virtually the same.
Well, the economic reforms which started about 3 years ago haven't yet started showing results to the people. The people don't have the direct feel of what benefit it has for them and so on. Joblessness is on the increase and subsidies are hitting the people directly. So in case the Congress loses in Karnataka and Andhra, would it mean the unpopularity of the economic reforms?
I don't think economic reforms will be unpopular because of the electoral results. I don't think so. Because I don't think economic reforms are an issue in the elections.
They are?
They are not. They are not. Nobody, if you go to villages in Andhra Pradesh or villages in Karnataka, nobody bothers about what liberalization is. The promise of the cheap rice will sell. The character of the candidate does matter. Character of the state government does matter. Question of corruption is important. But if you talk of what kind of relationship on investments and technology you are going to have and forge with Western countries from where money and investments and technology are coming. I don't think the common voter is really exercised about it. But I think opposition parties also, they don't have a heart in opposition to economic reforms. Irrespective of the party, the center, who rules at the center, there could be difference of emphasis on economic reforms. I don't think the country can go back on the reforms, irrespective of who wins or loses in these elections.
No, but the fact remains that Mr. Narasimha Rao and Janata Dal in Karnataka have been hinting or saying it explicitly that they are for the subsidized power tariffs, and subsidized fertilizer, subsidized rice. So and these things directly impinge on the economic reforms.
No, economic reforms are a very broad spectrum kind of thing. They can always fine tune these. Some will be accepted, others will be kept. Already in economic reforms, one of the important agenda on the economic reforms when they were unfolded 3 years ago, or nearly 3.5 years ago, was exit policy. Mr. Narasimha Rao is never talking about exit policy because it's politically inconvenient. So tomorrow also, they will upgrade part of the agenda on the economic reforms, which is not unpopular. They will downgrade that part of the economic reforms, which is going to be unpopular. So till 96, this little, some nuances will be emphasized, others will be neglected. That will go on. But that happens everywhere, all over the world. And I have a feeling, irrespective of who rules at the center, economic reforms will not be undone. For the simple reason, you don't have money for investment. The country needs money for investment. So you need investment from abroad. If you need investment from abroad, you have to open the door. Question will be, how much the door should be open? Should we open a gate or should we open a door? That is a question. So that's the difference between one party and another. I think even Jyoti Basu's CPM government is not opposed to economic reforms.
No, but the broad issue, the crux of the matter in this is that economic reforms do entail cessation of the subsidies, and the rivals to the Congress party in the assembly elections have been promising that they would actually introduce and insist upon and see to it that there are subsidies.
They will have to find money for the subsidies, ultimately, irrespective of whosoever is power, whether it is Telugu Desam or Janata Dal or Congress in power in the states. They will have to look for money. Where will they get the money from? If they don't have the money, some of the promises will fall by the wayside. Otherwise, they will change the tone of the promise, or they'll break one promise, make another promise. I don't trust the spoken word of the politicians too much, frankly speaking.
But it's been written in the manifesto.
I don't know whether how much is their faith in economic liberalization or not, but they are certainly follow policy of liberalization in the promises.
But they had written in their manifestos.
I don't know how many candidates have read their own manifestos. They don't read the manifestos, and even if they've read, they'll forget about it in a few days' time.
Thank you so much, sir.